My friend, after 60, many people often tell themselves one glass of beer or a little wine before dinner won't hurt. It's just for relaxation. But I want you to pause for a moment and think what seems harmless might actually be quietly leaving cracks in your heart and brain. In my 30 years of working with people over 50, I've met countless patients who came to me with a little smile saying, "Doctor, I only drink in moderation." And then just a few months later, they ended up in the hospital with a heart attack, or worse, a sudden stroke. Have you ever seen someone who looked perfectly fine one day and the very next day collapsed with a stroke, leaving their family in shock? It's those small, repeated habits that slowly wear down the body. Alcohol raises blood pressure little by little, makes the heart enlarge, throws off the rhythm, and brings heart failure or stroke closer with every sip. The danger is that it all happens quietly, slowly, until one day it's too late. I once had a 67-year-old patient who enjoyed just a little whiskey each night. He truly believed he was in control, but one morning he woke up and couldn't move the entire left side of his body. He had suffered a stroke, and the painful truth is it could have been prevented. I'm not sharing this to scare you, but to remind you that after 60, our heart and brain, the two most precious organs, become fragile. One drink might make you feel relaxed for the moment, but it's also pushing you closer to a heart attack or a stroke. That's why today I want us to face this truth together. I'm going to walk you through the 5 alcoholic drinks that are most dangerous for your heart and brain after 60. I'll explain why they're so harmful and the mechanisms science has uncovered, presented in the simplest, clearest way so you can remember and apply it. So if you've ever wondered, is my glass of red wine really good for my heart? Or how can just a few beers a week raise my stroke risk? Then come with me through this video. I promise you'll never look at alcohol the same way again once we're done. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss practical health tips like this. Now let's begin with the very first drink. 1. Red wine. My friend, picture this. It's a quiet evening. You're sitting in your living room holding a glass of red wine that swirls gently in your hand. For years, we've all heard the saying, a glass of wine a day keeps the heart healthy. It sounds elegant, refined, doesn't it? Many even believe it's a luxurious habit, one that's both relaxing and good for the body. But after more than 30 years of working with thousands of patients over 50, I have to be honest with you, for our heart and brain, after the age of 60, that promise is nothing more than a polished lie. I still remember one of my patients, Linda, 67 years old. She told me she had been keeping the habit of drinking a glass of red wine every night, believing it was her way of taking care of the heart while enjoying life. But over time, she began experiencing irregular heartbeats, sudden dizziness, and one day she nearly collapsed while walking her dog. When we ran the tests, the results showed atrial fibrillation, a dangerous heart rhythm disorder that triples the risk of stroke. She was stunned because all along she thought she was doing the right thing for her health. The truth is, after 60, our bodies no longer process alcohol as smoothly as they once did. The liver slows down the heart, and blood vessels have already endured decades of hard work. Even that tiny bit of alcohol in a glass of red wine can raise blood pressure, stiffen arteries, and disturb the blood flow in the brain, paving the way for both heart attack and stroke. The danger lies in the silence of it all. You don't notice right away until a sudden stroke changes everything. Now, I won't deny that red wine contains antioxidants like resveratrol. But here's the catch: the amount in one glass of wine is far too small to make any real difference. You can get those same antioxidants without the alcohol from fresh grapes, berries, or green vegetables. The benefits are tiny, but the price your heart and brain may pay is enormous. So if you've been keeping that habit, I want you to ask yourself, is that brief moment of elegance in your glass really worth risking the safety of your heart and brain? Because from what I've seen, red wine after 60 is no longer a friend of your health. It's more like a guest dressed in fine clothes but secretly hiding a sharp blade, what I call a truly elegant lie. Good question. Beer, there's something I often hear from my patients, especially the gentlemen in their 60s. They say, "Doctor, I don't drink hard liquor. I just have a few beers. It's light, nothing to worry about." Every time I hear that, I smile politely, but deep inside I feel worried, because sometimes the things we think are light are actually the ones that fool us the most. Beer, that golden, bubbly drink chilled on a hot summer day, giving you that easy, friendly feeling. People drink it when they're happy, when they're set at parties, or just to relax. But here's the truth behind that refreshing taste. Beer hides a silent trap for your heart and your brain. Think about this. You drink a glass of beer. It feels smooth, light, not heavy like whiskey or vodka. But inside that glass is a lot of starch and sugar. And your body doesn't really care if it comes from beer, a slice of cake, or a can of soda. It all turns quickly into belly fat, that beer belly we laugh about. But what's more dangerous is visceral fat, the fat that wraps around your liver, clings to your heart, and clogs up your blood vessels. It's like thick sludge coating your water pipes, slowing down the flow. That's the start of inflammation, hardened arteries, high blood pressure, and even irregular heartbeat. I had a patient, Robert, 67 years old. He believed beer was safe. He drank it every evening like a routine. One day he was rushed to the hospital after a sudden stroke. Tests showed fatty liver, arteries full of plaque. With tears in his eyes, he looked at me and said, "I never thought beer would do this to me." That sentence has stayed with me ever since, and it's why I'm speaking so directly to you today. There's another danger of beer people rarely notice. When you drink beer instead of water, your body isn't really getting hydrated, it's actually losing water. Alcohol makes your body flush out more fluids. And when you're dehydrated, your blood gets thicker, which makes blood clots more likely. And as you know, a clot can trigger a heart attack or a stroke in the blink of an eye. So let me ask you this, after 60, can your body really forgive those beers like it did when you were younger? Your liver has worked nonstop for 6 decades. Your heart has beaten billions of times to keep you alive until today. Can it really carry the extra weight of beer every single day? Modern science is clear. Even a moderate amount of beer, if consumed regularly, raises your risk of high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and especially stroke. Sadly, most people only realize this when it's too late after the heart attack or stroke has already happened. Now, I know beer is more than just a drink for many people. It's tied to memories, friends, laughter. But my friend, your health, especially your heart and your brain, is worth far more than any habit. I'm not telling you to ban beer completely. What I want is for you to know the truth so you can make smarter choices. Picture this: instead of holding a can of beer, you choose a cool glass of water or a soothing cup of herbal tea. Small choices like that, repeated day after day, can protect your heart, keep your memories sharp, and let you enjoy your 60s and 70s with freedom, strength, and peace of mind without living in fear of a sudden heart attack or stroke. So next time someone says beer's just a light drink, it won't hurt you. I want you to smile, but remember this: sometimes the things we call light can leave the heaviest burden on your heart and your brain. 3 sweet cocktails like pina colada or Mai Tai, a slow motion time bomb. My friend, there's one drink I often call a slow motion time bomb for the heart, and that's those sweet, colorful cocktails like pina colada or Mai Tai. You usually see them at beach vacations, family gatherings, or parties under the sun. They look so inviting. Bright colors, tropical aromas, creamy sweetness, rum syrups, and cream. But that very sweetness is the trap. And for many people over 60, it's a trap that comes with a heavy price. I had a patient, Richard, 67 years old. He once told me, "Doctor, I only drink cocktails a few times a week, nothing serious." Yet now his heart races out of rhythm and his triglyceride levels are double what they should be. What happened? The culprit was the deadly combination of alcohol and sugar inside those innocent-looking cocktails. I want you to picture this: every time you sip a pina colada, you're putting into your body as much sugar as several cans of soda. At 30, your body can still process it, but after 60, things change. Your liver works slower, your heart isn't as strong, and your blood vessels are more vulnerable to inflammation. That extra sugar quickly turns into fat in the blood, what doctors call triglycerides. And when triglycerides spike, plaque starts forming inside your arteries, just like gunk building up in a clogged pipe. The result: hardening blockages and eventually a heart attack or a stroke. And here's the scary part: the sweetness of a cocktail hides the true punch of alcohol. They go down so smooth, much easier than whiskey or vodka, which means you often drink more without realizing it. Just a few glasses a week can make heart rhythm problems worse or even trigger atrial fibrillation, a condition that increases your risk of stroke fivefold. Tell me, have you ever said, "I just drink for fun," but later that night you felt tired, your heart racing, or you couldn't sleep? That's your body sending you a warning. As a doctor who's walked alongside thousands of older patients for over 30 years, I can tell you this sweet cocktails are not harmless fun. They are a ticking time bomb slowly but surely damaging your heart. And once you're past 60, your heart simply doesn't have the same resilience to endure these silent attacks. So if you truly want to raise a glass for joy and health, think twice. Sometimes the most important choice isn't about drinking more. It's about knowing when to stop so you can protect your heart, your brain, and your future. For tequila shots or margaritas, a direct jolt to the heart and brain. And you know what? If sweet cocktails are like a time bomb for the heart, then tequila shots or margaritas are more like a sudden electric shock hitting both the heart and the brain. I've met many patients who believe tequila was somehow better because it's made from natural agave. But the reality is far from that. Even a small tequila shot carries an alcohol concentration between 35% and 55%. That's no light dose for a body that's been running for over 60 years. Picture this. You're at a party, a margarita sits in front of you, lime, a touch of sugar, a salted rim. It sounds refreshing, right? But inside, it's a dangerous mix. That salt boosts sodium in your blood, pushing blood pressure higher. After 60, that's like throwing gasoline on the fire of hypertension or congestive heart failure conditions many of my patients have struggled with. I remember one older gentleman who swore tequila was just his little harmless habit. Then one night after a party, he landed in the ER with crushing chest pain. His heart had taken a sudden hit, what we in medicine call an acute heart attack, and he had only had a few drinks. You see, sometimes it doesn't take much. Just a little can trigger a storm in the circulatory system. What makes tequila and margaritas so dangerous in older age is the deception. A tequila shot encourages binge drinking fast back to back. In those moments, your heart and brain are forced under extreme pressure. Blood thickens, vessels constrict, heart rhythm goes haywire. And the outcome, it could be a stroke right there at the party or a heart attack as soon as you lie down in bed. So let me ask you, is it really worth trading your health, trading the steady rhythm of a heart that's carried you for 60 or 70 years for just a few minutes of buzz from a margarita? That's the question I always remind my patients of. Because the older we get, the more fragile our heart and brain truly become. 5. Hard liquor, whiskey, vodka, brandy. If tequila or margarita feels like a sudden electric shock to the heart, then hard liquor, whiskey, vodka, brandy, is more like a slow-burning fire. It burns instantly, but it also destroys quietly over the years. I often tell my patients, a sip of whiskey may feel smooth going down, but to your heart and your brain, it's anything but smooth. Picture this: hard liquor hits your body like a lightning bolt. Within minutes, your blood vessels tighten, your blood pressure shoots up. For someone over 60, that's like forcing an old engine to rev at full speed while climbing a steep hill. Your heart races, your chest tightens, your head spins. And sometimes just one sudden spike like that is enough to trigger a stroke or a heart attack. I remember a patient once told me, "Doctor, I only drink whiskey at night to help me sleep." But he didn't realize that after years of this little habit, his heart had quietly grown weaker. His heartbeat more irregular until one night he ended up in the ER with heart failure. The danger of hard liquor isn't only in the immediate hit, it's also in the silent buildup that wears your heart down over time. What worries me even more is how hard liquor interacts with medications. Many people in their 60s and 70s are taking pills for blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol. Mix those with whiskey or vodka, and it's like dropping a lit match into dry grass. You never know when the fire will spark. Some people crash into dangerously low blood pressure, others spiral into arrhythmia in the middle of the night. And let me ask you, have you ever thought that a glass of whiskey might help you sleep better? Calm you down? If so, you're not alone. But the truth is hard. Liquor doesn't give you peaceful sleep. It disrupts your sleep cycles, leaving your brain unrested. You may be lying down, but your heart and brain are still fighting through the night. So you see, whiskey or vodka isn't just a drink. It could be a risky step for your heart and brain as you grow older. The choice is always yours: a fleeting moment of warmth on the tongue, or many more years of a strong heart to enjoy with your loved ones. We've just gone through 5 common types of alcohol that carry hidden dangers for your heart and brain. Silent triggers that could lead to a sudden heart attack or stroke. But you know what? The real danger isn't just in the name of the drink. It's in the way alcohol directly affects your body, like especially once you're past 50. And that's why we need to talk about some important things you should keep in mind when it comes to drinking so you can reduce its impact on your body. Part 3, what you need to know about drinking alcohol. First, drinking to sleep, the dangerous trap. There's a habit I see in so many of my older patients. They use alcohol as a sleeping pill. They often tell me, "Doctor, just a little drink before bed, it helps me sleep." And at first that sounds reasonable, doesn't it? A glass of wine or a shot of whiskey can make you feel relaxed. Your eyes get heavy and you drift off to sleep faster. But I want you to stop and ask yourself, is that really the kind of sleep your body needs? Think of it this way: when you sleep, your heart is supposed to rest. Your heart rate and blood pressure should go down, almost like a car being put in idle mode. But when alcohol is in your system, your heart actually has to beat faster. Your blood pressure swings up and down and your blood vessels contract and expand in strange ways. On the outside, you look like you're asleep, but on the inside, your heart and brain are working overtime. I once had a patient, 65 years old, who struggled with insomnia after retirement. Every night he'd drink a glass of hard liquor just to fall asleep. At first he thought it was working, but after a few months he felt exhausted all the time. His memory started slipping, and every morning he woke up with a headache. One night he ended up in the hospital with a dangerous heart rhythm and a sudden spike in blood pressure while he was asleep. That so-called sleeping pill turned out to be a dangerous trap, pushing him into a vicious cycle: drinking to sleep, poor quality sleep, fatigue, drinking again. And maybe you felt that too, lying in bed restless and thinking to yourself, just one small drink to help me sleep. But you see, the price isn't just a restless night. It could mean a heart attack at 2 a.m. or a sudden stroke while you're fast asleep. What troubles me most is this: is 60 or 70 every night's sleep should be a chance for your heart and brain to recover. But alcohol steals that away, leaving you with a tired body and a worn-out heart. And if you don't stop, that vicious cycle only makes you more dependent on alcohol. So if you've been using alcohol as a sleeping pill, I want you to remember what I'm saying today. It's not rest, it's a silent battle inside your body. And your heart, your brain, after carrying you through so many years, deserve much more care than that. Second, how alcohol affects the brain, not just the heart. Many people still think alcohol is just about making the heart beat faster or raising blood pressure. But after more than 30 years working with patients over 50, I can tell you this: alcohol doesn't just stop at the heart. It quietly and sometimes silently attacks the brain. And that's what makes it truly frightening. Think about it this way: your brain is the control center of your life. It's what helps you remember your grandchildren's names, keeps you steady when you step off a stair, and gives you the ability to talk, share stories, and laugh. But after 60, even a small amount of alcohol can throw that control center off balance. Neurons already fragile with age get damaged faster. Short-term memory weakens and focus is no longer what it used to be. I once had a patient. He was in his mid-60s, still healthy, and enjoyed the occasional glass of wine because he thought it's good for the heart. But soon he started complaining about forgetting little things, misplacing his keys, forgetting appointments. His family thought, well, that's just aging. But after a closer look, the truth was clear. Alcohol had been speeding up his memory decline, bringing him closer to dementia. And here's something you need to remember: when the brain is affected, the risk of falls and head injuries skyrockets. For a younger person, a small fall might just leave a bruise. But for an older adult, it can trigger a chain of complications, sometimes even leading to a stroke or a sudden heart attack. Have you ever wondered if your own forgetfulness or trouble focusing wasn't just age, but alcohol quietly stealing away your clarity? That's a reality many people overlook. And I'm here to tell you, don't let that little glass become the thief of your memory and alertness. Because the truth is, the heart and the brain, they don't work separately. When the brain weakens, the heart has to work harder. And when the heart suffers from alcohol, the brain pays the price too. That's why I always say alcohol doesn't just threaten your heart. It steals your clarity, your memories, and the joy of living in your golden years. Third, the double risk when alcohol meets medication. My friend, when we talk about alcohol's effects on the brain, many people nod and say, oh, it probably just makes you a little forgetful, that's all. But the truth is, it doesn't stop there. I want you to picture this: at age 60, Our brain is already more sensitive, more fragile, and every sip of alcohol is like a tiny spark quietly burning away at that precious clarity we depend on. But here's where it gets even more dangerous. It ties directly into something almost every older adult faces every single day: medication. In over 30 years of practicing medicine, I've never met a patient over 60 who wasn't taking some form of medication. Maybe it's a blood pressure pill in the morning, a diabetes tablet before dinner, then something for cholesterol or joint pain at night. Those little pills may look small, but they are lifelines keeping your body in balance, helping you stand strong against illness. Now imagine dropping alcohol into the mix, even just a small glass. What happens then? One of my patients, James, age 67, thought a glass of wine before bed would help him sleep better. But after a few weeks, he began complaining of constant dizziness once he nearly fell when standing up. After careful tests, we found that alcohol was interfering with the way his body absorbed his blood pressure medicine. Instead of keeping his blood pressure stable, the medication suddenly dropped it too low, causing dangerous lightheadedness. And I believe many of you may have felt something similar without realizing alcohol was the hidden culprit. Alcohol can also push diabetes medication into overdrive, leading to sudden low blood sugar. The result: fatigue, sweating, even fainting. And if you're on medications for your liver, stomach, or pain management, the combination can amplify toxicity, leaving your liver struggling under the weight. What worries me most is that many older adults dismiss this risk. They think just a little won't hurt. But after 60, when your organs don't work like they used to, that little can sometimes trigger a storm. So I want to stress this: alcohol and medication dangerous enough for young people, but for seniors, it's what I call a double risk. On one side, illness; on the other, alcohol. And when the two collide, your body pays the highest price. Have you seen yourself in this story? Have you ever taken your medications faithfully, yet still felt weak, dizzy, or unsteady? Maybe it's time to ask, could that daily glass of alcohol be turning your medicine into a double-edged sword? Part 4, the key message. My friend, after we've talked about how alcohol harms the brain and how dangerous it can be when mixed with medication, there's one last message I want to leave with you, something I always remind my patients. Alcohol doesn't usually cause damage in a loud or obvious way. It works quietly in the background. I've met many people who looked perfectly healthy on the outside. They exercised regularly, ate balanced meals, seemed full of energy. But when we took a closer look, their hearts were already under strain. Their blood vessels were slowly narrowing and weakening, and they didn't even realize it. And then the heart attack or stroke comes without warning. One ordinary morning, it might be a sudden heart attack. One peaceful afternoon, it might be a stroke. I've seen this happen to people whose families truly believed they were completely healthy. That's why I always emphasize, don't let alcohol's silence fool you. But I also want you to hear this, and it's good news. Even at 60, 70, or beyond, your body still has an incredible ability to recover. I've seen patients who, after just a few months of quitting alcohol and adopting a healthier lifestyle, showed remarkable improvements in heart health, clearer thinking, and deeper sleep. You can start today. Your body still has the chance, and your brain and your heart deserve that protection. My friend, after looking closely at the hard truths about alcohol, how it quietly damages the heart and brain, and how it raises the risk of heart attack and stroke, I want us to pause for a moment and reflect together. Life after 60 is more precious than ever. Every moment with our grandchildren, every morning we still have the strength to walk out into the park. These are priceless gifts. And that's exactly why we must protect ourselves from habits that may seem small but silently plant the seeds of danger in our health. The message I want you to remember is simple: stay away from the drinking habits I've shared with you. Especially after 60, our heart and brain just don't have the same resilience they once did. But here's the good news: you still have many other choices. There are healthier ways to relax, to connect with friends, to enjoy a peaceful night's sleep without needing alcohol. I've seen so many of my patients, once they let go of drinking, rediscover simple joys: a quiet walk, a cup of herbal tea, or even just a warm conversation with loved ones. And here's something important: if today you decide to make that change, you're not only protecting your own heart and brain, you're also giving your family an invaluable gift: your healthy, peaceful presence in the years ahead. Let your heart and brain rest. Let them stay strong, because that is the greatest gift you can give yourself after 60. If this message speaks to you, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so together we can build a community of health and happiness after 50.